everyone, and welcome to another installment of How I Would Have Done It. This week, we're going to do Man of Steel 2, which I would have called the Man of Tomorrow. So, you guys already know how it's going to go. I'm going to tell you what I would have done with the movie had I been in charge of it and had full creative control over the project. So, let's jump right into it. And disclaimer, if you haven't seen any of the other things I've done before, then just look at the links that are going to be coming up as I say this on the video. There's a link for Caped Crusader, which would have followed Man of Steel in 2013, and then there's Wonder Woman, which would have followed Caped Crusader. So go on and catch up with what I would have done in the DCEU and come back to this video right now. Or if you don't care enough, just keep watching this one. Either way, I'm going to carry on. Open the movie with several talk shows talking about Superman and what he's done for the world. One key person that's focused on is G. Gordon Godfrey, played by Denny Huston. You know, the guy that played Ludendorff in Wonder Woman that I said shouldn't play any role in Wonder Woman, and I recast him with an Arab actor? Yeah, him. Then show Lex Luthor, played by Bryan Cranston, not the fan favorite Jesse Eisenberg from the BVS movie that everybody loved and everybody wants to see play Lex again. Not him. Have Bryan Cranston and actually take a chance with casting. Have him talk about rebuilding Metropolis after Superman recklessly destroyed it while showing all of us how helpless we are before him. He delivers this speech in front of a lot of people in a press conference. He assures the citizens of Metropolis that although their city is demolished, their hero is there and will lead them back to glory. Cut to the Daily Planet and see Lois enter the place, being greeted by the new photographer, Jimmy Olsen, played by Shia LaBeouf, or whatever his surname is. I never really learned how to spell it or how to pronounce it. She meets Perry, who tells her about the increased superhuman activity, which could allude to the events of Wonder Woman, around the country that is even happening on other continents. He tells her that Superman opened the door to so many newsworthy events and wants her to go interview Lex Luthor about the defense contract dealings. It seems that Lex is very interested in getting a defense contract. Lois is apprehensive about it, but Perry insists and she goes. Perry then wonders where Clark Kent is. Cut to Superman chasing criminals in the streets of Metropolis, and he tries not to cause any damage as well as protect innocent civilians from the gunfire and explosions. The crooks throw grenades at him. Superman eventually stops them and only destroys their car. The people around him congratulate him just as the police arrive and start shaming the police for being too slow. Superman hands the crooks over to them and flies away towards the Daily Planet. Clark Kent is then shown entering the office and Steve Lombard tries to pull a prank on him that doesn't work out. Clark was oblivious to it, making Lombard feel sorry for himself. Jenny, from Man of Steel, just laughs it off. Clark gets to Perry's office and Perry berates him for being late. Clark tells him about the chase Superman was in and tells him he got the story. Perry demands it quickly and Clark gets to work. Have Lombard try to distract Clark and stop him from typing, but Clark types very quickly and finishes 2 pages in 5 minutes while being distracted by Lombard. Clark prints it and submits it to Perry. Perry then yells at Lombard for not being able to get his work done. Clark talks to Jimmy, and Jimmy is a big Superman fan. He has Superman memorabilia. Clark asks Jimmy where Lois is, and he tells him about the assigned interview. Lois gets to LexCorp and meets the secretary to set up an appointment with Luthor. The secretary sets up the interview and Lois gets the details. On her way out, she sees Lex arrive with his chauffeur, Mercy Graves, played by Tao Okamoto. I didn't like this casting, but I'll keep it as such. I would much rather have Ronda Rousey, to be honest. He steps out of the limousine and walks into the building. He meets his secretary, who tells him about Lois, and he also meets up with the general from the military. Lex tells him that he was expecting General Swanwick, but the general says that Swanwick is busy and uninterested. Lex, partly fazed, tells him that he wants access to the ship in Metropolis in exchange for supplying the army with weapons that can protect humans from alien threats. The general does not buy the idea until Lex shows him a briefcase of money. He promises more if the general can help him get his defense contract as well as access to the Kryptonian ship. The general tells him that he will do what he can. Rudy Jones is a disgruntled worker who's part of the people clearing the area around the Kryptonian ship. He's very bored, as one can see from his disposition, and his friends talk to him about being approached to pull a job on the ship, which Rudy refuses. His friends try to goad him into doing it, but he refuses and goes home. Doesn't have that much of a house and lives in a trailer on the outskirts of Metropolis. He isn't fortunate in life and has several newspaper clippings of Superman's deeds since his emergence. It's shown that he doesn't have a hatred of Superman, but he doesn't necessarily like him. He turns on the TV and sees a channel where they're talking about Superman. There's a debate going on about whether his existence puts humanity in a good place or a bad place on a cosmic scale, and if we really are important to the universe at all. It was a debate between a church figure and a Scientologist. The Scientologist mocks the church figure for believing in God, although there's no mention of aliens in the Bible. The church figure counters, saying that the existence of aliens just adds one more mystery that science will never explain, whereas the Bible has a reliable source on the story of creation. Things get heated, and Lois tells Clark to switch the channel. Yeah, the scene switches. Lois wonders if Clark is bothered by everything he caused, and he answers that he's not. They share a few office jokes, and Lois tells Clark about her interview with Lex, and Clark hints at feeling bothered. Lois picks up on it and asks him if he feels threatened. He tells her that he's not, and it proceeds to a makeout session. The next day, Rudy is called by his boss while at work and is told that his performance is dropping. The boss warns him that if it continues, he will be fired. Rudy goes out, eats with his friends, and they go to work. The friends start to pick on Rudy for not being a part of the scheme. They need someone with Rudy's experience, as he used to be a crook before he served some jail time. Rudy refuses once more and walks away from them. They continue to mock him for it, but he pays no mind to it. It's lunch break, and he sits down alone to eat. They get to him once more, and he threatens to expose their plans to the boss. They then back away. He goes on to have a peaceful lunch without them. At the Daily Planet, Perry assigns Clark to cover the last days of the reconstruction of Smallville, and he should take Jimmy with him. Jimmy is excited and Clark is subtly happy. They take all their belongings and Lois is there. She and Clark say bye to each other before Clark leaves. Jenny then asks Lois what's happening between her and Clark and asks how Superman is taking it. Lois assures Jenny that there's nothing going on between her and Clark. Cut to Lex Luthor making a few phone calls in his office to several companies, with one of them being Queen Industries. He cuts the line after all of it and stands up to look at the city through his big window. He grabs his cell phone and makes a phone call, and Rudy's friends are on the other side of the line. He tells them to get the job done quickly. Lex then calls Mercy to take him to one of his warehouses, and she does that. While in the air, he talks on the phone with a state senator about how little Superman makes everyone feel, and how the U.S. Army needs to show that it can stand on its own 2 feet when fighting otherworldly threats. In that instance, Mercy quickly stops the car and sees a situation unfolding, where there's a suicide attempt. A man wants to jump off a building. Lex steps out of the car and approaches the scene, impatient about his urgency, then watches along with everyone as several police try to help the man get down, but he doesn't want to. Clark is driving with Jimmy in the car, and they become aware of the situation. And Clark drives towards the scene, and they leave the car. They separate while on foot, and Clark finds a place to suit up. Jimmy looks for a good vantage point. Superman flies to the suicidal man and talks to him. The man is apprehensive and hostile, blaming Superman for losing his job in life due to the fight in Man of Steel. He's had enough and wants to end it all. Superman calms him down and approaches him. It looks like the man has a change of heart, and then he slips off. Superman flies down to save him. He puts him down, and the man freaks out and runs away. People celebrate Superman's heroics. Lex watches everything unfold. He watches the crowd celebrate Superman's heroics. Rudy is framed by his friends, making it seem like he stole something from the site, and the boss fires him when he finds out. Rudy refuses another offer from his friends to get in on the job and goes home to think about life. Clark and Jimmy get to Smallville, and they visit Martha Kent at the farm, where Clark and Jimmy help out with a few things. Jimmy believes that Superman is there to look out for the little guy, and despite what a lot of people say, he's not showing off his powers to the world. That night, Rudy goes to the site after thinking it through in his home, and tries to stop his former friends from stealing the materials, and in the scuffle gets exposed to strange chemicals. Security shows up and they call the police. The general that Lex paid off sees this and calls Lex to tell him about it. Lex tells the general to deliver Rudy to him. The next day, Clark is shown reporting around Smallville with Jimmy. He meets Pete Ross, who works at IHOP, and they catch up on their teen years when Clark used to sneak out to hang out with Pete. They watch G. Gordon Godfrey talking about Superman stopping the suicide attempt and how he's imposing his will on humanity. Many social media activists are complaining that Superman shouldn't save lives when they don't want to be saved, and that the man was found dead in apparent suicide with a gunshot to the head. Lex Luthor offered his condolences and criticized Superman for robbing humanity of its independence and free will. Rudy is sent to Lex for examination and is in a coma. Lex keeps him in a lab in his building. Rudy wakes up, absorbs people's life essences, and is then gassed until he's knocked out. Lex leaves the room. Sometime later, Lois is on her way to Lex's building and tells Clark that he will be close, and she teases his jealousy. Clark and Jimmy just arrived in Metropolis. Lois goes to talk to Lex, and it leads to a monologue about powerful beings in the past. We basically understand that Lex hates Superman because he's hindering human progress by doing everything for us, and is taking the jobs of Metropolis's finest. He also states that such powerful people should be kept in check. It's also revealed that Lex had a crush on Lois long ago. As the interview goes on, Rudy breaks out of his containment and goes on a rampage in the building, looking for Lex. After absorbing all the security he can, he finds Lex's room and goes for the attack, throwing Lois out the window. Superman catches her, then flies into the building to fight Rudy. Mercy goes for a fight. Rudy absorbs her a little before tossing her aside. Superman arrives and they have a fight. Lex watches. Rudy absorbs Superman's powers and it weakens him. Rudy then kicks him out of the building, and he falls onto the street. Lex convinces Rudy to fight Superman, as he was the source of all his troubles. Rudy lets him live. Superman flies back and finds Rudy gone. He has a stare down with Lex before flying away. Many newspaper outlets criticize Superman's actions, and many people are interviewed. G. Gordon Godfrey talks to Lex about the recent events, and Lex blames Superman for the attack, stating that he was trying to get to Superman through him. His name is said to be Parasite. Lois comforts Clark and tells him it's not his fault. Clark still takes the blame and says that he will do some investigating. Lois tags along, and they sneak into the LexCorp building and look through surveillance footage. They find out that Rudy was there for hours and find the cell he's in. They go to him to interview him. Rudy tells him that Superman ruined his life with his recklessness, and Lex only tried to help. Rudy tells them that he has insatiable hunger and his super strength is fading. There are dead people around him, and they're all drained by him. Rudy's hunger gets the best of him and he tries to eat Lois before Clark steps in. They run away from LexCorp after evading security and Rudy himself. They write the story and submit it to Perry the next day, who dismisses it, saying that Lex called ahead and threatened to sue for breaking and entering. Lois insists that Lex is holding someone in LexCorp for experimentation, and when the police go with her, they don't find anything. Lois is suspended, and she's upset with Clark for not doing more about it. Lex transferred Rudy to one of his warehouses and talks to the general whom he paid off about the opportunity that they have. The general visits him and tells him that the U.S. Army is willing to give him the contract and access to the ship, especially after the attack by the Parasite. Lex pays the general more money and sees him off before going to Rudy to tell him about Superman. He has another monologue about Superman and how he looks down on us. But Rudy doesn't care. He just wants Superman's energy because it felt good. Lex promises Rudy the energy he wants. Clark is given advice by Martha over the phone, and she reminds him that it's not so different from when he was growing up, how he was always looked at as a freak. What matters, and what did matter, was what he did. G. Gordon Godfrey has another talk with Lex on his show, and Lex calls Superman out. G. Gordon Godfrey accepts the challenge and calls Superman out as well. Superman goes. He debates with Luthor on television, and Luthor humiliates Superman and makes him look unstable as well as hypocritical. The audience loses faith in him, and Lois is watching, and Superman is left speechless. Newspapers are shown all over, highlighting the heated interview between the two. Lois tells Clark that that was the biggest mistake he could possibly make under the circumstances. Clark doubts his role in the world. Lex's proposal is accepted, and he's given the defense contract, especially after his interview with Superman. Lois still defends Superman along with Jimmy, but Perry doubts him and tells them that their emotions blind them. Lex celebrates his victories with a party where he invites the wealthiest people in Metropolis. They all attend, including the commissioner as well as the mayor. The party is interrupted by an impatient Rudy, who escaped the warehouse and wants to take it out on Lex. He scares off the guests. Luthor talks Rudy down once more. The police get to the building, and Lex convinces him to feed on them, which he does. Superman goes to fight him once more, reckless with each passing second, then retreats when he realizes all the destruction they're causing. Rudy does not fly after him. He's satisfied with his energy. Superman flies to Smallville and stays in the Kent farm, not wanting to continue the crusade anymore. Martha gives him a motivational speech and he spends the night there. The next day, Clark helps with the last building to be rebuilt and is thanked by everyone there. He also does some farm work around Smallville to help the people out. Everyone celebrates him that evening in a bar. He refuses alcohol. Everyone there knows who he is, so it's cool. They all encourage him to stand up to Lex and all the media tycoons who are bringing him down. He has a good night, and Pete is there too. Lois calls him, and he tells her that he's safe and alright. He escorts Pete home, and it's revealed that Pete married Lana Lang. Clark goes home, and Martha tells him that Metropolis needs its hero more than it knows. It doesn't need to be appreciated and worshipped. What matters is whether or not he does the right thing. Because, in order for evil to triumph, all it takes is for good men to do nothing. And Clark goes to Metropolis the next day. While alone in Metropolis, Lois is called by someone who says that they have a story. Lois meets the person and it turns out to be Rudy's former boss. Rudy's powers have gone low and he gets hungry again. He's in the warehouse and is restless, wanting more. He feeds on the scientists there and goes to the city to drain Superman. Clark and Lois go out for breakfast at the ASO clubs and talk things out. Lois has a story on Lex. She says that her tip gave her a good story on Parasite. At the Daily Planet, Lombard tries to pull a prank on Clark, and Clark doesn't notice, but Lois does. The prank backfires, and Lois laughs at Lombard, along with Jenny and Jimmy. Perry reminds Lois that she's suspended, but she turns in a story about the Kryptonian ship site and an accident that was covered up. Perry brings her back in and runs the story. Tabloids are shown exposing the story, and Godfrey calls Lex out once more. He says that somebody will rot in hell. A building is on fire, and Superman flies to save the people there. Once he does, Parasite ambushes him and absorbs so much of his power that he blacks out. Parasite goes mad with power and fights the police. Superman awakens and fights Parasite throughout the city. Although Superman tries to minimize the damage, and Parasite capitalizes on that. Superman and Parasite fight for a long time, and Superman can't see a way of beating him which doesn't involve killing him. When they both get exhausted, Superman is still weakened from all the energy got drained. He didn't go and power himself up with the sun, mind you. Lex shows up and incapacitates Parasite with a special weapon. Parasite is knocked down and Superman gets up. This is now in a dense, populated area. The people want Superman to kill Parasite just like he did Zod, and Superman refuses. He gives a speech about the sanctity of life, but then Lex kills Parasite before Superman can do anything to stop him. Superman is left speechless when everyone celebrates Lex. The media shows Lex as the champion of humanity because he stood when Superman knelt. Godfrey applauds Luthor. Luthor is commended by the citizens, but not by the police or the mayor or the Daily Planet. Clark is disappointed because he lost the faith of the people, who now believe in murder. Lois tells him that they'll learn one day. Martha says the same thing. Lex is still to answer for the accident at the Kryptonian ship site, which he is allegedly connected to, according to Lois's expose. Clark goes through newspapers and sees a recent article by a rival newspaper about the vigilante known as Batman, who's now killing criminals and dishing out his own brand of justice, and decides that it's time for him to visit Gotham City. And there you have it. That's how I would have made Man of Steel 2, otherwise known as Man of Tomorrow, which would have been the fourth entry in the DCEU, or Worlds of DC as Warner Brothers like to call it. This movie would have led to Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. As you've seen, Superman developed some sort of hatred towards Batman because of what Batman is doing now. And we've already seen why Batman has gone down this road. So it just adds a little bit more context to the rivalry that they have in the eventual confrontation that they'll have. It gives it more substance. It shows more development. We know these characters better, what they represent, what they're trying to be. We see Superman struggling to find his way, and we see Batman who has lost his way. And I think that's really the message that Batman vs. Superman was trying to show us. It just didn't have enough time to develop everything that it was trying to show us, to make it convincing at least. The ideas were there, they were just not executed properly. So this is just what I would have done to at least follow kind of the same roadmap as the DCEU was going in, and just make it better with a lot more substance, with time to breathe and absorb information, and for us to form our own opinions on these characters. That's really a mistake that I don't know who really was behind. I don't know if it was Zack Snyder's idea from the beginning to have Batman in that state already, mid-40s, graying hair, while Superman just started. I think that was also a big mistake, but each person has their own vision of how things are supposed to be. I would have put them at approximately the same age. Just like the other members of the Justice League as well, I wouldn't have had Barry be a guy who's still in college. I wouldn't have him be the same age as Cyborg or just like 2 or 3 years older or something. I don't even know how old those characters are, but I'm pretty sure both of them are the same. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I would have done with this movie. So, as you've guessed by now, if you were still listening to everything, the next movie would be Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. So, stay tuned to our channel. Keep an eye on the channel. Subscribe, obviously. Turn on the notifications if you need to. Follow our page on Instagram, Hekate Media. Like our page on Facebook, Hekate Media as well. And you'll be updated with everything that's going on here. I'll see you around.